This lesson is Evaluate Functions. The goal is to evaluate functions. What you should understand by the end of the lesson is that a function rule is an equation that represents an output value in terms of an input value. You can write a function rule in function notation. Okay, here's the way that you've seen it presented to you before. We have an input that is an x and our output, which is y. Well, we're still going to have an input of x, but our output is going to be read f of x, or it's a function of x because there's x. If that letter was m, this would say f of m because this would be a function of m. So instead of y, in function notation, you're going to see f of x. It just means what is the answer. But however, instead of just f of x, they're going to give you a number. And when they give you a number, you replace x with that number and then solve the problem. So if f of x equals 3x plus 2, f of 1 equals 3 times 1 plus 2, which is 5. So that's function notation. Just remember, f of x is really the same thing as y, or the answer, but they're just going to put a number or some kind of an expression in the parentheses, and you'll replace these parentheses with whatever is in these parentheses. So how did we work these? Well, here we have a function of x, and it equals negative 2x plus 5. So they want to know what is the output for the inputs, that means the x values of negative 3, 0, and 1/4. So all you do is replace x with negative 3 and solve it, replace x with 0 and solve it, and replace x with 1/4 and solve it. And that's what they did down here. They made f of negative 3, they replaced x with negative 3, solved it, got 11. Here we have f of 0, they replaced x with 0, and they got 5. In the last one, they took 1/4, they had f of 1/4, replaced x with 1/4, solved it, and got 4.5. So let's look at how you would work one of these out. Here I have f of x equals 3x squared, or 3 times x squared. And up here they want to use the following function rule to find f of 8. That means because it's a function of x, we're going to replace x with 8 and solve. So that's all we have to do. We're going to write the problem, put it in our calculator, and solve it. So f of 8 equals 3 times 8 squared. And when you put that in your calculator, you get 192. So f of 8 is 192. And that's all there is to doing that. We'll take a look at another one. This one says to use the following function rule to find f of 154. So f of x equals negative 9 times the square root of x minus 138. So let's write that out and put it in our calculator. I'm going to leave off the f of x and just start with negative 9 times the square root. X is 154 minus 138. When I put that in my calculator, you can put it in all just like you see it, just like that. Or you can do one step at a time. You can do the square root. When you subtract those numbers, you get, when you subtract them, you get 16. The square root of 16 is 4. Negative 9 times 4 is 36. If you do it all at one time in your calculator, you also get negative 36. This is negative 36 also. So once again, you can do it a step at a time, or you can put it in your calculator just like you see it and solve it in one step. But f of 154 is negative 36. Your first practice problem. You're going to use the following function rule to find f of 64. Practice 2. Use the following function rule to find f of 2. Practice 3. Use the following function rule to find f of 25. All right, this one looks a little more difficult. It says use the following function rule to find f of 4v minus 6. I'm going to simplify your answer. That means we're doing a function of a. So where I see a, I'm going to replace it with 4v minus 6. So let's rewrite this. Instead of a, we're going to put 4v minus 6. So I have negative 4 times the quantity 4v minus 6. I'm going to use the distributive property. 4 times 4, or negative 4 times 4, is negative 16v, and negative 4 times negative 6 is positive 24. And that's all I can do, so my final answer is negative 16v plus 24. Here's your practice 4. Use the following function rule to find g of negative 4u. Simplify your answer. Practice 5. Find h of negative 9n plus 3. So replace r with negative 9n plus 3. And don't forget the plus 3 afterwards. Practice 6, which is going to be the hardest one for you, is to find f of negative 2u plus 2. And the rule is f of p equals p squared plus 3, which means you're going to have to square negative 2u plus 2. So you're going to have to use FOIL to multiply negative 2u plus 2 times negative 2u plus 2. All right, you're getting ready to do your lesson in IXL. Remember, you need to make a 90 or better. Make sure you've written your goal on your goal sheet. Be sure you mark a 1, 2, 3, or 4 after you're done with your lesson. And that's all for this one. Have a great day.